Good morning, everybody, and a very warm welcome to Ask the Accountant, episode number 72. The date is the 4th of March, 2024, and we have a working title of AI, and a little bit more of AI. My name is Aaron Patrick. As always, I am joined with my co-host, Johann. Johann, how has your week been?
Good morning, mate. I'm not going to lie. This has probably been one of the most exciting weeks we've seen in the accounting world in a long time. Like, it's all been one-upmanship and who's got the biggest advertising and marketing side of things and who's going to have the better tool. And yeah, no, I've absolutely loved the last week. And it all kicked off with the QuickBooks event. But Aaron, you're not in your office. Where are you today, sir?
I am in Italy, Milan, which is a bit weird because I'm kind of in the future as well. It's 9:30 here, which I don't, it's not your normal time.
What's going to happen in the next hour that I can put a bet on and win some money?
Exactly. I'm in the future at this point in time, which is apt for today, right? If we're talking about AI in future.
It really is. We literally flew you out to Milan so we could say that, didn't we?
Exactly.
I told you we'd expense it somehow.
Yeah. But no, it's been good. We've been out in Milan. We've been went to see James Blunt over here. Had some food. Probably some of the best food I've ever had in my life. I think if ever you have an opportunity just to come to Italy, then just come for a couple of days, eat some food, and go home again, and you'll have the time of your life. So that's been good. It's been really good. And what about your week? Is your weekend? You got to see Formula One? Was that everything that was cracked up to be?
It was a continuation of a dull season from last year, but yeah, let's see what happens throughout the year. Milan and Rome are fantastic for food. Actually, my wife turned around to me the other day and said, "Oh, well, literally over the weekend," said, and I forgot you were in Milan at the time, and she said, "Oh, we were in Rome 5 years ago today." So she's got this feature on this app that goes through her photos and reminds her where we were at various points in time. But yeah, we did Rome and Milan for a short week break as our first holiday together when we were first dating 5 years ago. And yeah, the food is just incredible.
Exactly.
Absolutely outstanding food in that country.
And what was your preference then, Rome or Milan?
Rome all the way.
Really?
Ooh. Yeah, I'm a bit of a history buff, so I enjoyed being in around all of that. And we went in March, but we spent every morning we'd go and do a touristy thing. Like we went to go and see the Colosseum or the Forum or whatever. And then in the afternoon, we'd find somewhere to sit outside, drink coffee and beer, and eat food, and people watch, which was great fun. So yeah, no, it was a fantastic long week short week we had in Rome and Milan. So yeah, I'm pleased you've enjoyed it.
It's been brilliant. And travel day today. But before travel day, though, we've got a cracking podcast lined up, including talking about AI. But before we go any further, let's say hello to everybody. So we've got Cheryl here. Hello, Cheryl. Paul's here. Louise is here. Dave's here. Natasha's here. Kirsty is here as well. And just looking over at the Instagram as well, we've got a couple of people over at Instagram Live as well. So good morning to you all. Right, let's start off with the beginning of the week then for us, which was QuickBooks at the QuickBooks Roadshow. Absolutely amazing event. We were very privileged to have the opportunity to go and have our own little area where we had our tips and tricks. And we had lots of people come over to us and say hi and ask for tips, ask for some tricks. But the event itself was really, really good, wasn't it? Probably, and for a full review, we've done a whole QuickBooks Labs webinar podcast, which is, I want to say it's already live. Yes, it is already live, isn't it? It went live last week. Yeah. So if you want a full review of exactly what we thought about the event itself, then shameless plug, go and head over to there. We had a special guest as well, which was amazing to see. Yeah.
And I've done a day in the life video that went live on Saturday of behind the scenes. So
yeah. So shameless plugs all around. Yeah. Shameless plugs all around to get ourselves into the event itself. But overall, what was your thoughts? What was your key takeaway from it? Lacking on probably earth-shattering best announcements we've ever had, but as we said in the pod, we got all of that and more last year, so it was almost expected, wasn't it? But go on then, go for it. What was your key takeaways from this event?
So my first key takeaway was the fact that they are continuing development of what we've already got. QuickBooks have been quite prone in the past to go, there's a new feature and leave it alone forevermore. Whereas I think they've really learned that actually what they need to do is they launch a new feature and then they build on it. They go into phases 2, 3, 4 of the development and make it better and better. So that was very much no groundbreaking announcements because we'd had all of those over the last year. But it was we announced this last year. This is where we're up to, and this is what we're about to do next with it. And I like that continuation. I also absolutely loved when Nick Williams turned around on that opening session going, who uses AI in their business? Who's using ChatGPT and stuff? And genuinely, 50% of the room hands went up straight away. And I'm just sat there going, what an audience. What a tech-facing, embracing audience we've got here. Because let's be honest, some of the roadshows we did last year, you probably would have got 1 or 2 hands up out of the audience because they were a little less tech and tool embracing. So I just thought
Even
it was
some
a
people
great
asking
crowd.
what AI was, right?
Yeah.
Some of them were going, AI? What's AI?
Yeah. They were still trying to work out what the cloud was in some cases. But at this event last week, it was just a great audience that were like, okay, some of them were like, we're using ChatGPT, we're using this, we're using that, this is all brilliant. And others were like, I'm not using it yet, but I'm getting proper FOMO. How do I use it? Like, how do I use even the new reporting in QuickBooks, the working papers, all of that stuff? Like, I think we got to see the best of the QuickBooks audience there, where they were either using stuff already and being very forward thinking, or they were, I know I'm not there yet, but I am looking forward and I am facing the right direction and I am taking my first steps. Whereas a lot of times you go to these events and it's like trying to, you can take the horse to the water, but you can't make the horse drink type thing. So no, I really enjoyed the event. I thought it was a very great atmosphere, great audience, very chilled. And I think it was very much the start to the conference season we needed. Like, I'm looking forward to Fab now. That's the next one in a week or two's time. Like, that's next, and I'm excited about that because I've now had a taste of the conference season again. Whereas, before that, I was like, I'm still a bit fatigued from last year's world tour. Am I really ready to do this again? But now I've got that adrenaline pump and I'm ready to go again. I'm loving life. So yeah, what were your takeaways, Aaron?
Well, I mean, first on that, I think we'll talk about it more, but I think one of the reasons why we're pumped again is because of the announcements, right? We didn't expect to have such an array of announcements, and we'll talk about it in a moment and explain them in more detail. And maybe some of them were knee-jerk, but again, we'll talk about them again. But the fact that we have got those announcements gives us something to talk about, right? Gives us something to go, ooh, you know what? There is a reason to go to booth X, Y, Z and go talk to so-and-so. And we're going to have those opportunities. But I think the event itself was, brilliant. I think the announcements that were made were, as you've already said, they were refinements. So we've got enhancements to features that were mind-blowing 12 months ago, showing that the support there, showing that FRS 102 is coming for the accounts production, showing that personal tax returns are going to be able to filed via ProTax coming soon. So great announcements. And from the Accounting Web article that was done by Tom, which is a great article, go and read it.
Fantastic article.
They were his 2 big takeaways, right? They were the headline acts of this is what people are going to take away from this event, which we agree on. I think some of the smaller changes, like the fact that receipt capture is going to have a bit of an enhancement in terms of being able to automatically go to bills or expenses, is, it's a pain point that people who use the feature will be absolutely adoring for. And I think the fact that something as small as that Google Drive integration to receipt capture as well, I think will be a big game changer when it comes to seeing how people implement it. So big things to come. I think it's nice to see that so many people there were still impressed with the feature set that was there, the ecosystem. There's some big changes to pretty much every part of the ecosystem going forward, refining it. So I think when it comes to the questions and answers we were asked, taking a little bit back about how much was still people migrating from the desktop environment to the cloud and the impact there. I think that we weren't expecting that to be such a hot topic, right? But that's what the users were asking for. That's what the users needed support on. And as soon as you show people working papers, as soon as you show people that workflow, their eyes lit up and they're all excited. So I think, like you've already said, overall, really positive event. There were some really good questions being had. The swag was brilliant as well. We had an opportunity to get a little boom box and you got your coffee from Apron, and it was lovely. And the partners there were coming with new updates and stuff, and like Zettel and stuff with updates that they were bringing along. So it was good to see. They obviously talked about AI. AI was a hot topic. They wanted to bring it in. Unfortunately, we couldn't see it in action. There's no real. We've not had a play, right? And I feel like
more than we'd already seen in the autumn.
Yeah, and I feel like we're at that stage now where we're thirsty for a bit of a play of it, right? We want to see it in action and see what it can do. Internally, we know people have they've played around with it. They're getting good results out of it, so that's positive. But I feel like the AI chat was what the competitors were expecting to be more of a big push for, because what happened the day after and the day after that, both of them announced their AI offering.
To be fair, Sage announced it that night.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just a time delay, wasn't it? Because of the fact they were announcing for America.
Yeah.
So we'll go into more detail of what was announced, but first impressions was Sage. Wow, actually, there's something really tangible there. Was Zero a bit of a knee-jerk reaction? What was your thoughts?
So obviously QuickBooks announced AI autumn last year during the roadshow. It was very exciting. We were buzzing for that. And at the conference this year, Get Connected London, it was very much for those that haven't seen what we're doing, this is what we're doing in America, and it will come over here eventually. And well, this year, hopefully, blah, blah, blah. And then on the train home on that Tuesday night, I see social media lighting up about Sage and Sage announcing Sage Copilot. To which I went, let's have a look. Let's see if it's just a counter argument to QuickBooks. But no, to be fair to Sage, they had a huge event in America where they announced it. They've had a fantastic landing page built with lots of videos. And functionality-wise, I mean, if Chris Downing's in the comments, I'm sure he'll shout at me for this, but functionality-wise, it looks like they've got the same kind of end goal as what QuickBooks have got, of trying to produce better insights to reports and give it, all of this summarized information and stuff like that. And that's fantastic. That's what we want. As I said at the event last week to a few people, like Tom Herbert asked me about the impact of AI. And I said, look, at the moment, before I go into a meeting with a client who I don't normally deal with, my team deals with, I spend 15-20 minutes going through the QuickBooks and going through their reports and seeing if I can spot conversation starters. If that's reduced to a few minutes because AI can summarize all that data for me and give me some conversation pointers, then I look amazing to my clients and I've saved 10-15 minutes of my time, which means I can do more of those meetings. And that's what it looks like Sage are going to be doing with theirs. The bit I'm really impressed with from Sage is they've completely read their audience and they've gone, this AI malarkey is going to scare our audience. Like OCR technology scared our audience. And they've been very like, this isn't going to get rid of jobs. This isn't going to put you out of work. This is going to enhance your services. This is going to let you spend your time doing more work on the high value stuff, while the AI does the lower value stuff. Now, my only preface to that is they did only talk about accountants, but that's because this was an American event. And in America, accountants and bookkeepers are very different. And what you can and can't use people for in those roles in America is very different. But you can transcribe that into the UK and go, yeah, Sage is like QuickBooks. It's going to be a really powerful tool for accountants and bookkeepers to be focus more on their high-end services rather than the low-end services. So really impressed with all of that. And then you get the 10-year-old child running up from behind going, oh, me too, I'm doing this too, look at what I'm doing, waving his hands around. And all they've got is a one web page with a video which looks to have snippets taken from the QuickBooks video that we saw in 2018 as their vision for accounting in the future. And they've also spent on this 2-minute video no mention of accountants or bookkeepers until 1 minute 30 seconds, where there's a short clip of a Zoom meeting type thing going on. And then they move back to it. The whole video is focused on business owners. They've completely misread this situation. Like that video, and I'm sure they might have more content coming, because I don't think they were planning to announce this now. I think they were holding this off until XeroCon in July, but the marketing team went, oh crap, the two competitors have just announced very insightful, very powerful tools. We can't not be seen. And to be fair, we've been given Xero stick since autumn, saying where's Xero in all this? Because since autumn, we've had QuickBooks announce a product with visuals and stuff. Sage was saying in interviews and stuff that we are working on this, watch this space. And then they've come out with great content. And Xero like, oh crap, we can't wait anymore. What if we actually got ready to show people? We've got a 2-minute video. That's fine. We'll just put that on a web page. Oh, but don't forget to put the see pricing options on the web page, which refer back to our normal licenses. So you can't even do a video on Xero about the future product without trying to sell the current licenses. I mean, it's ridiculous. But I think it's very last minute by Xero, and I think they came off looking extremely disorganized and unaware of the market from it, if I'm honest.
Yeah, it screams the whole what QuickBooks did wrongly in the 2020s, wasn't it? Where they did the whole let's go for the end consumer, because all Xero's done here is taking the opportunity to, as you've already said, shout out about whoa, we of course we're doing AI. Have you not heard of Jax, which I think is a terrible name, by the way, just ask Xero, which is what it stands for. And they've gone, well, we've got this thing called Jax, and look how good it is to sell our product. Look how amazing it makes our product look to the end consumer, isn't it? And it's that focus on there. I think, again, like you've already said, given Sage AI that or Sage Copilot is called, isn't it? Giving them their dues, they gave 3 real big areas of where AI is going to improve. So there was a little bit on the end consumer. So it was AP and automation, so accounts payable automation. So
which we've got no issue with AI doing, have we? Because that's the time-consuming part. It's like,
exactly,
if I can AI that, I'd be very happy.
Yeah, even for our business, that's huge, right? And then be able to help smaller businesses be on top of it. That's everyone's going to benefit from it. Then they talked about rectifying errors and unusual transactions. That's the bit that really gets us exciting, because that's where we can go, right, you know what, let's go there. And they did really focus on as well, this AI is going to help you have real-time information, not having to, we've all wanted it, right? We've all said that it would be great to have this real-time information, but their focus is, well, let's make that reality for us. If you're going to have a conversation with a client, let's make sure it's within the last day, hour, of those transactions. You've already said, like, wowing a client when you go into a meeting and you go, oh, look, Johann knows all about my business because he's been able to tell me X, Y, Z about it. When realistically, you've done your due diligence, you've gone through, you've ran some reports that you can read from, but you're still looking at it probably a month behind, maybe, in the best case scenario for accurate data. Where this is the idea where you can go, let's look at it there, and then their final step, which we'll need to see how it works, is about capture more billable hours. I think that's more of a glossy term, isn't it, than anything else. It sounds great, but we'll need to see how that works going forward. And then, like you said, so from our point of view, that's what AI, gives us confidence. It's not going to cost us jobs. We're not going to have to worry about, us disappearing or anything like that. We've got confidence that AI is going to enhance us as from accountants and bookkeepers' point of view. And then Jax comes along and goes, not needed. We don't need an accountant now. Look at this fancy. Just ask Xero, they'll do it for you, which really does remind you of what QuickBooks did 2020, wasn't it, with their you don't need an accountant spin. So interesting. And is it purely just knee jerk, or is Xero really honing down that AI is designed to sell them more licenses? What's your thoughts?
I mean, obviously no one's spoken about pricing here, but I don't think it'd be unfair of us to turn around and say, well, QuickBooks have always done this freemium model where they keep adding things to their license. Yes, their license might go up a pound a month each year, but that's fine. Sage have very much turned on this whole new, we'll give Sage accountants for free. We're going to give Sage accounts and tax filing for free, in line with what QuickBooks is doing with their accounts production side of things now. So based on that, I would say Sage and QuickBooks are going to be adding this in to all licenses free of charge. There might be a premium version that will go into more depth or something that may be a bolt-on. Who knows? But I can pretty much guarantee Xero will charge for the privilege of this. I mean, you can't file a CIS return in Xero without paying for the privilege. So why would you be able to use AI? So Xero will need to do their usual monetization of this, which, yeah, it's frustrating and disappointing. But you know what's really worrying me about if Xero do monetize this, right? If you look at all the AI products out there at the moment, so if you look at like the Android phone system and Google Pixel and stuff like that, they've not got feature parity in the UK and EU yet versus what we can do with those AI tools in America. And that's not because they're testing in America first and then bringing it to us. That's because of EU and UK legislation. That means they're still working out how they can do this, or they're having to build the technology they've got and servers they've got in America. They're having to build that in the EU and UK to do it because of GDPR and stuff. So if Xero are going to charge, are they going to charge more for the US because they may have better functionality than they would in the UK? And Sage and QuickBooks will face the same challenge potentially here of, have they got the technology and hardware in the UK and EU to support all the functionality that they're planning on delivering in America? That is going to be a challenge for all of our software vendors. Or are we going to go, is Xero going to take us kicking and screaming back to like BrightPay, where you could have a Windows license or a MacBook license? They're the same price, but the feature parity is nowhere near. Like the Mac's never got the same level of feature parity features as a Windows license got, because they never built it that way. But they charge you the same price. So that's my concern, is if you're charging for AI, you can't charge the UK the same amount as the US when you've not got feature parity.
Yeah, I see that. And I feel the other big fear is that if we're right and, tinfoil hat time, and let's say that Xero do go out here and they do charge extra, QuickBooks and Sage are like, look, let's give it as a value added. Let's get more accountants on board here. Well, straight away, QuickBooks and Sage can offer more through AI anyway, because they've got a huge ecosystem that can go into.
Yeah.
Like we've said already, like the AI is amazing for the FMS solution, but even more powerful for the practice manager, the receipt capture solution, every other tick box you can think of what the ecosystem brings you. Think of the AI in Go Proposal going forward, like literally having the opportunity to kind of take that client portfolio and almost build your pricing structure during the conversation of the client, right? So you're having a one-to-one conversation. In reality, in theory, should I say, there's nothing stopping later down the line Go Proposal as soon as you've kind of stopped having that conversation with a client, the proposal's there ready to go, and you've just got to tweak it and make sure it's accurate. Like that's where AI could take us in the future when you've got such a great ecosystem. Xero is never going to be able to offer that. So if they are going to come out swinging that it's going to be a chargeable event, it's just Ask Xero, the only way they can monetize it is if it is, well, how about you pay for your AI? Because if you pay for AI, you don't need an accountant, and there we're saving you money. That, to me, I can't see another way that they could justify a charge for it when the competitors are free or potentially free, right? So surely the only way that Xero can make this work and really, grab market share and really, is this their chance to really attack the US market, for example? Like you said, if they're going to have the better features, can they really get to a point where this is their way in of going, well, you don't need an accountant. You got Jax. Like Jax will be your accountant going forward. And he's going to be so much more cost effective than an accountant ever will. That's the worry, isn't it? When you base it just on these little niblets that we've got, and we're only basing it on a couple of videos here.
It's all tinfoil hat stuff. Like Xero may not charge for this feature at all, and we could be completely
Possibly
wrong.
not.
But let's look at the past history and make an assumption.
And the messaging they're already said, like you said, they're already talking about pricing. Like that's already part. Whereas the rest of them haven't even mentioned pricing. It's like
no reference to it anywhere.
So yeah, I think or I fear that this is going to be a big change. And again, it's the same as the API integration, isn't it? It's that all over again. Like it's a monetization option for them. And in fairness to Xero, they need to monetize. Like they need to have coffers in the back pocket. The others,
they don't print money like QuickBooks and Sage do.
Yeah.
It's this technology revolution that is AI could be the make or break of several softwares across the globe. Like there's going to be softwares that just cannot keep up with the pace, and they don't develop quick enough, or they take the wrong attitude towards it. And I do wonder if Xero is going to fall foul of that. I mean, technically, if they're listening to this podcast, they won't, because they'll learn from what we're telling them and take the free advice and use it to help them nail this. Because, like, the reason we've been so excited all week is because QuickBooks announces it, Sage announces it, Xero announces it. They're all one-upping each other. This is great for us, the end user. Like, if they're constantly going, I've got this feature, well, we've got that, and we're doing this on the edge. Like, that's exciting, because we're going to, the real people that benefit from this is us, the accountants, the bookkeepers, the business owners, because of the one-upmanship, the competitiveness that drives them to develop, outpace each other in development. That's what, like, we wouldn't just want QuickBooks just to be out there on their own going, yeah, we've got AI. Because what forces them to continue to develop that? Now the fact that Sage is out there going, yeah, we've got AI as well. Yeah, we can do it. We're on par with that. And both of them screaming that, look, this isn't going to cost jobs for accountants and bookkeepers. This is just going to re-engineer how you spend your time and help you deliver more high-value services and automate the lower value. Like, that is incredible. And I would love Xero to be up there. And my real hope is Xero will turn around in July and go, all right, we fired the gun a bit early. Like, never mind. It's now July. It's XeroCon. Off. This is what we're going to do. Here's the detail. And actually, we wake up that morning and go, fair play, Xero. You're up there. You're really you're the third one to start go, we can do this and we can do that and we can do this. Absolutely brilliant, because that gets a better product across the market for all of us.
And it makes sense, right? Because from all the rumors we heard, there wasn't going to be a XeroCon in London this year. It was, that quote unquote fallow year, right? Like they wanted to, they had this idea, didn't they, that they wanted to kind of keep that roadshow moving. It was it New Zealand, America, and UK, and then they were just keep rotating. That was from what we've been told, what the industry's kind of rumors were going. That's what we believed, right?
Yep.
So for them to suddenly change pace and ZeroCon is happening, here's the prices, get your prices in soon, your early ticket discounts, all that sort of stuff. It feels like they've got some,
and shows Zero through and through. They're the only software out of the FMS solutions out there that now charge for their conference. Now, yes, QuickBooks has downsized
last year.
They did last year, but QuickBooks have kind of scrapped the connected event, and they've gone for a larger London event that's part of the road shows that's free to attend, and then they've got their free road shows.
Yeah,
Sage have never done that big Sage event. They've always done road shows free of charge.
Was the Sage America though? Was that? Do we know? Because that could have been charged.
Different model though in America, isn't it? Like QuickBooks charge in America, Zero charge in America. That's a different. They do it on a whole different scale. Like compared to America, what we get in the UK is chicken feed. Like you don't break out Ryan Reynolds for the UK Get Connected event. You get Tom Kerridge, which, don't get me wrong, fantastic guest to listen to being interviewed, but it's not Ryan Reynolds.
It hits different, doesn't it? Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. It's the only paid for conference this year of the big software or the big conferences.
But you'd imagine they've got something to talk about there. Like that's got to be that. There has to be a reason why they've decided to.
It got announced last week. It's called Jax.
Yeah, but they've got to be a reason why they've gone back on what they originally planned, and they are having a ZeroCon in London. Like there has to be some sort of Jax announcement or Jax for accountants or whatever they're going to come out with, right? You feel it. Do you fear though that means not to expect any big announcements at Countex? Or I mean, I don't think Fab was ever going to be the place to announce big things, was it? Because it's relatively new, and I imagine the vendors are a little bit worried about who's there, what the audience are going to be like. Yeah, exactly. So I completely get from a vendor's point of view, that's not the time to announce your big shiny thing for 2024. But Countex used to be that, didn't it? It used to be I think historically there's been big announcements, right?
For announcements for many softwares, they'll announce a lot, and I think what we will see at Countex is QBO and Sage having great materials, great content, and great well-trained team members to start answering questions on Sage Copilot and QBO Intuit Assist. That will be there. What will be interesting is how big a thing Zero can make out of Jax at Accountex. And whether they even talk about it. Is there any signage about it? Like, I can pretty much guarantee you're going to walk into Accountex and Sage are going to be there with this huge stand, and Sage Copilot will be all over it. Because they want to make us aware of what's coming.
Yeah, 100%. So, final bit before we move on to the next topic then. Interesting to see that, and again, look, we're feeding off the scraps we've been given, right? So we can only assume, we can only speculate, we can only
tinfoil hat moment.
Yeah, exactly. So don't take any of this as gospel. It's really interesting that Intuit's approach was, we built this from the ground up. We are invested in 1,000 analysts, 700 patents. There's all of those numbers around this. They're very much a case of, we want to build our own. We want to hold that. This is our technology. This is us making Intuit Assist as a whole new model, right? Which is going to have its pluses and minuses, right? We've already talked about it. Plus being it's going to be like the most secure place to have that data ever, because it's only Intuit products that can talk to it. The minuses being that they're going to be behind in some circumstances. Look even at the world of Siri in Apple, right? How far behind is that compared to your likes of Copilot and ChatGPT? But I don't believe we've been told, especially from Jax, from all we can tell from Jax, is that's not theirs. It doesn't look, from everything we've seen, they've never mentioned once that they've built their own. So you only assume that's a plugin.
It was a desperate FOMO moment.
Yeah. Sage being called Copilot again. Sounds very similar to the Microsoft Copilot. Are those two more of a add-in that they then and that makes sense? And from a Jack's point of view, they have to charge because there's going to be costs involved of bringing that third party in, right? And that third party getting access to the data, that third party being able to leverage the data. So do we feel that Intuit are going their way of building their own from scratch, and the others, from what we can tell, are leveraging ChatGPT or some other form of third party? Do you think that's a fair concept?
I think Sage has got more than enough data, money, and assets to do what QuickBooks is doing and build it from scratch. And I get why you're thinking, oh, it's Copilot, so it might be powered by Microsoft Copilot. But I'm not 100% convinced by Microsoft Copilot at the moment. I don't think it's very good, especially for the price point. But I think you're reading too much into the name here. That I believe, based on that, I know Sage have a very good working relationship with Microsoft in the US. Completely get why, but I do believe that, and I kind of hope that Sage have actually built this themselves, because you don't want to be tied in to a partnership where you can't control what it's doing in the future. Like, we've seen that, haven't we? With, look at QuickBooks and their payroll tool and their practice management tool. They're powered by partners.
Allegedly powered by partners.
And that slows their development. And it also means that some things might get developed out of their control. So I think it's just a marketing name, because there's lots of AI tools out there that have been dubbed Copilot and have absolutely nothing to do with Microsoft. So I think it is just a branding thing. I think it's skin deep. I don't think it is a powered by Microsoft thing. But I could be proven wrong. Could be completely wrong. But I think QBO and Sage are the two tools that have got the resources to do this themselves and to do it well. What's powering Xero? I don't know. But Xero may have done it themselves, and maybe that's why they've been so quiet for so long. But when you look at the resources, QuickBooks, for example, like QuickBooks are very open about how many hundreds of AI engineers they've got. They've now got a team in the UK, as well as was it Israel, America, and India. Like, they've got teams all over the place working on this stuff. They've got hundreds and hundreds of patents. Which is very Apple-like to announce, we've got this amount of patents, this amount of engineers. Xero and Sage don't have any of those figures public that I've seen anyway. So, yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting year ahead, basically, as to find out who's powering what, who's built their own, who can deliver, who delivers at what price points. Like, this is probably the most exciting year we've had in the accounting software industry for probably since 2017, 2018, when OCR really took
OCR. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, we will see. We will see. I my gut feeling is, especially with how glossy and maybe we missed it, but how glossy the Sage presentation was, they'll shout about it more if it was
well done.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
Like, Sage, they rolled out all their American big guns, like the CTO and stuff. The CEO, like,
called Aaron as well. So a lot of respect for that guy.
Yeah, like it was very well executed, well polished, etc. So last autumn, you got the QuickBooks CEO come out, go, Intuit Assist, this is the future. And then very Apple-like, it then went into someone else talking about a section, then came back to him, and then it went to someone else talking about a section. Very Tim Cook, Steve Jobs-esque approach to it. Everything I've seen about Sage, exactly the same. Like, they brought out the big guns to talk about it. There was reassurance about this isn't here to steal jobs. This is here to empower you. This is the future. This is what we're going to do. Absolutely phenomenal presentation. I have to say, Sage, I take my hat off to you because you've really stepped it up over the last few years. I think this was the point where we went, yeah, Sage are back up there. Like, they understand they're in the market, they understand the competition, they understand how they need to compete to be against that. But I know they've been doing a lot of work in the background for a long time now, and I think we're starting to see the results now. And then we've got Zero with a 2-minute video, which doesn't focus on accountants and bookkeepers at all. Shows us how it's going to help business owners in day-to-day life, but that's it.
Yeah, and again, no mention of if they built it internally or not.
Yeah,
and I think that's the same for Sage.
And a big disclaimer saying this is not what it's going to look like.
Yeah, exactly.
Underneath it, which is very funny.
I feel like, I mean, we could talk about AI till the cows come home, but I feel like at least now we have clarity of what's going to happen, and we know now that it's a 3-horse race. You've already mentioned the fact that we're the one who's going to benefit from the fact there's a 3-horse race. Let's see how it goes. But we do need, I think, the bits we need to do is start playing around with these betas and seeing what they do and seeing what they can access and everything else, because proof's going to be the pudding, isn't it? And that's when then we can start thinking about, actually, can they deliver on this promise? Can they actually bring it from there? And I think one of the things we've not talked about enough on this show yet is also, it's not just the FMSs that are built buying into AI, but it's accounting firms as well, that the big boys are really putting in there. And if anything, that's the thing we should be more worried about, because if they start building like solutions that could just roll out to SMEs that's fully automated, that's when potentially we've got an issue. So I feel like that's what we're going to have to keep on. Right. Let's quickly just go and talk to our audience, as we've done 45 minutes of just pure AI. So Susan's here as well. So Susanna, sorry, because welcome aboard. Paul says, unfortunately, missed QB. He was in Florida for 2 weeks. Well, hopefully Florida was amazing. Wonderful to see. AI is going to be everywhere. My Spotify update with a DJI AI this weekend. Exactly. Yeah, we had the same with Apple Music over the weekend as well, and even YouTube Studio telling us what we've done right or wrong in this. So, it's everywhere, isn't it? Also video on ChatGPT data analyst going over Excel data. Yep. We've seen some really good stuff from Jason Stats, haven't we? Where he's basically just going, here's a set of accounts, here's ChatGPT, throw them together, let's see what happens. And it's really interesting. Good morning to LinkedIn user. Dave says, does QuickBooks have standalone payroll software if a client is not on QuickBooks? They certainly do. It's called QuickBooks. Oh, sorry, got it the wrong way around. Payroll QuickBooks Bureau. QuickBooks Payroll Bureau.
Like
whichever way around it is. But have a look on there.
Imminently.
Yes. Great piece of software, and you can use it with any FMS solution that you like. And then another question says, ask an accountant major I did online for Genard's advice tips. Okay, cool. Yep. We did a whole tips and tricks on studying and everything else about 6 months ago. So if you go back to some of our archive footage, we can go through it from there. Awesome. All right, then. So other topic. Now, this is the problem. We had so many topics for today.
It's been a hell of a week, hasn't it?
Yeah. Let's go through some of the headline stuff that came through. So MTD ITSA, still a thing, still going strong. We had some good, interesting news. Good, interesting news that HMRC's deputy CEO has just announced that Intuit QuickBooks is the only /first software provider to be recognized for making tax digital ITSA beta. Then they go on to say how proud they are of that. And I mean, full disclosure, I'm one of the beta testers as well. I've been filing with QuickBooks Beta for over a year now, so it doesn't surprise me that they were recognized. It's interesting, the word in there, though, isn't it? /only, like the rest are en route. I think at this early stage, it's great to have that recognition of being the first one there. Fantastic, and hats off to them. But I don't think it's a worrying factor that it doesn't seem like anyone else are there yet, though. I don't think we've got any fear, because if anything, the vendors are now concentrating on AI and all the other stuff that's come in there that they're actually going to be able to deliver functionality to.
Yeah.
There's still a big question mark over MTD, isn't it? So fantastic news.
Yeah.
Great, but yeah, is it?
Yeah.
Is it that big?
Isn't it? Like,
yeah.
It comfort, like when HMRC are turning around saying, "Yeah, QuickBooks is there," like they're on it. So for HMRC to put their necks on the line and say, "Yeah, QuickBooks is doing this, this, and this," and it's the first and only, then that's about a source of true fact as you're going to get. Like, whereas other, you could have done a marketing piece like we're the only one, but once HMRC actually say, "Yeah, these guys are the only ones," like, great. It shows QuickBooks hasn't taken its eye off MTD. It's still investing heavily into that, ready for the future. Sage were quick to respond, saying we're working with HMRC, we're dealing with it, blah blah blah. And I've no doubt that they are, and I'm sure Xero are. If they'd spent any time looking at their socials, they'd have realised this has happened and perhaps should have put something out slightly better than the Jax video. But I've no doubt Sage are working closely with HMRC, and what Sage are saying is true. I think Sage were just a bit nose put out that HMRC didn't mention them alongside QuickBooks. So yeah, like the big boys are going to be spending money on this. They can afford to spend money on it this early on, and if it, like, everyone else has paused development pretty much for MTD, it's because they're like, we've been burnt. Can we afford to keep investing until 2026, 27? Probably not. Let's hold off, get some more assurances that it's actually going to happen, and then we'll do it. And we've got the resources to do it in that shorter time period. Whereas QuickBooks are like, no, we'll keep going, we'll be ready. Sage are like, yeah, we'll keep going, we'll be ready. And yeah, I've no doubt any of the big names will be ready for MTD when it happens. I think this is just a bit of a marketing opportunity for QuickBooks to benefit from.
It's good PR, isn't it? I know that on the back of this, they are now looking to ramp up beta testers, which is what we need. We need more people actually going into it and utilizing it and using it on a day-to-day basis. And the more people that they have using it, the more resources they can realistically put into it, right? Like,
and it sounds like HMRC have, you and I were chatting to Fer, who is heading this up at QuickBooks, and he was saying that HMRC have lifted a lot of the restrictions now on who can and can't beta test, and how complex their situations can be for the beta testing, which is great news. If that means that we can get more people through it, more realistic, real life scenarios, then fantastic.
Yeah, exactly right. So good news all around. I'm excited for that. I think, the more we can get recognized for it, the more people can get on it, the more we can actually push it. So yeah, great news. The other piece of news, though, relating to HMRC, is apparently there is a VIP HMRC line. I don't know how bad this is through on the thing, but I can't hear myself at the moment.
Oh no, we can only hear you. It's fine.
Okay, that's good. That's good. So yeah, VIP HMRC line. So apparently, who knew? There was a whole hotline that's going around at the moment for MPs and VIPs to skip the queues at HMRC. I don't think anyone's surprised about this, but it is a kick in the teeth for us accountants, isn't it? Like, we're the ones doing majority of the hard work in terms of, for them, like helping their helpline. Like, if we weren't there, their helpline would be even more inundated. And apparently,
not that HMRC understand that.
No, exactly. They don't see the help that we do, but they've got this resource to make sure that VIPs and MPs can have a near instant pick up the phone and go, where we've got 45 minutes if we're lucky, isn't it, at the moment?
Yeah, on a good day.
So, yeah. As it says here in this report, HMRC have sunk to an all-time low.
But I mean, there was another report out this weekend where one of the MPs on a committee has said that the shocking customer service scores from HMRC are unfortunately like highly predictable and not a surprise. Like, it's the worst customer service HMRC have delivered in decades, basically, based on the feedback. There's also if anyone can find, I couldn't find the link after I'd done it, but there is a HMRC survey going around for agents to fill out, where we can basically say what they are and aren't doing well on their charter, which basically states that HMRC understand and recognise that taxpayers are entitled to support from agents and that we can deal with things on their behalf. I have to be honest, I was scathing on that feedback. I think they said, "Oh, how well are we doing on the part where we understand and recognise that taxpayers can have agents representing them?" And I just said, "You're not. What could we improve?" Well, you could actually respect the fact that they can have representation. It's clear you don't like people having representation because we know more than your HMRC call centre people do. And for that reason, you'd rather talk to a taxpayer who doesn't have a clue what they're on about, because you can win in that case. So, yeah, everything they seem to do seems to be to circumvent our authority with the client at the moment. I can't remember the last time we got a letter alongside a client getting a letter for an investigation. They always seem to go, "Oh, sorry, we didn't realise you had a 648 in place." It's like, well, yeah, HMRC at the moment is just an absolute joke. And am I surprised they've got a VIP helpline? No, not at all. And I think it just, like, if HMRC were doing a good enough job for everyone else, this wouldn't be a story. It's the fact that they've now got such poor levels of service and support that this is now a story. HMRC have made this story themselves by being so crap.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And I think the kick in the teeth here is that unless we can find the number, like, is anyone in the community, do they know the number? Is there any opportunity to do this? But I assume that as agents, if we were to phone, we would just get passed around, won't we? But
Yeah.
part of me does feel like if we can find this number and we pass it around the whole of the accounting industry, we'll just try that number every time, just inundate it. Like, let's overwhelm it as much as we can just to show our distaste for it all. Speaking of HMRC being rubbish, what about the fact that Companies House have been rubbish as well? There's been a report at the moment that Companies House themselves have been hacked, and that a load of the banking areas have been placed on alert over rogue Companies House filings. This is slightly worrying, isn't it? That, Companies House, we've got these big changes coming through, we've got new updates coming, and approximately 800 forms relating to discharging of financial data have been anonymously filed. So when it rains, it pours at the moment for HMRC in terms of Companies House, government authorities. Yeah, I mean, not much more we can say on it other than the fact that.
Just a bit of context behind it, I suppose, for our listeners, is that it looks like at the end of February time, 800 forms were filed to Companies House discharging charges against companies that perhaps shouldn't have been, like, that those debts still stood. So banks have been put on alert because people may try borrowing money because Companies House no longer reflects the outstanding charges that are still valid. Yeah, it's interesting to see that it's been done and that someone's done it on volume. I say volume, 800. How many companies have got charges against them in the grand scheme of things? But
is that 800 that were caught? Was it 80,000?
Yeah, like, we just don't know. That this 800 are anomalies that they've spotted that seem odd. So that's why the banks have been put on alert for it. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, and it should be a source of truth, right? Companies House, but even that has seen thing. And final story of the day, and we will wrap up shop. Iris price increases coming through. It seems like this has hit hard based on what we've seen on the community. Seems like there's been a painful increase what I was frustrated about when I saw this was learning that there's still not feature parity. So for anyone who doesn't know, if you're on TaxFiler, you're being forced off TaxFiler and moved over to Iris Elements. I believe everyone's moved by the end of March, isn't it? Like beginning of April.
There's a lot of migration emails going out. Yep.
Because on the 1st of May, this is when these new prices will take into effect and come into play. I can't really quote on the prices and how that's going to be compared because we don't know what the comparison was. It's just a price increase, and we've already said like price increases are going to happen. We just got to accept them.
I think it's a timing matter, really. I think that's what's upsetting the general audience and users is that Iris are forcing you from good, reliable products like Center and TaxFiler onto Iris Elements where they've not got feature parity yet.
Exactly.
And then to top that off, now you've just about to, or you've just moved, here's a price increase. It's just, not a good PR move, shall we say.
And again, from this post that was put out there, we don't 100% know if it's monthly or annual. I think it's monthly, but some of the numbers on here are absolutely eye-watering, isn't it? Like £3,286.80 for a team Iris subscription, which, it's just scary, isn't it? If you're in that ecosystem, that's the sort of fees you've got to be starting to think about providing for. At least there's clarity there, but
you've also got to think, well, their prices are going up, but you've got QuickBooks, Xero, and Sage coming in and delivering accounts and tax production softwares at a freemium model. It's all inclusive in your current fees, so that the gap's getting wider.
That's where TaxFiler used to be a really nice disruptor, wasn't it? It was a disruptor to the industry. It was a nice solution for people to have, and that's why it's been so popular. And I think that's why people are so upset about the move. And some of the features that they've been taken away were, for me, like really useful features, like a calendar feature of when things are due and what stuff go through. I assume in Iris's defense, this new elements, this new ecosystem, the practice manager S, the center S would give you that functionality in part. So if you've got kind of access to that, I assume that it's almost like, well, you don't need it in TaxFiler now because you've got it in the other part of the ecosystem, is their defense. But for people who were so focused on it, they ran their business on that particular feature, right?
I'm going on the assumption they've looked at things like heat maps and stuff, and they realized the calendar view was never really used, apart from a few, a small percentage of their users. Unfortunately, with all softwares, when they turn off a feature based on use or lack of use, those ones that are using it are normally very loud on social medias and with their opinions. So they are unfortunately the loudest, yet also the minority. So that's the risk of making changes in softwares, though, is that the risk is the minority that are using it versus everyone else that's not are actually still quite loud and vocal about the fact you turn it off because it is something they're passionate about.
And there we have it. There is another episode of Ask the Accountant done and dusted. Johann, have you got anything to be excited about this week? Is there anything content-wise we should be looking out for?
I've not decided what my video for Saturday is going to be yet. It might be a battle of AIs for the accounting world, but I don't know if I've got enough in-depth information on each one yet. I certainly haven't on Jack's. So I don't know if it's fair to do that video just yet, or if I wait for a few more months. But this week I'm primarily in the business, continuing work on time tracking and client engager, and I've got a load of webinars coming up for my accounting firm for groups of people, so focusing on getting stuff ready for that.
Yeah, because the week after it's FAB, isn't it? We're going to
FAB back on the road.
Going to get ourselves ready for that. So thank you everybody for tuning in today and enjoying our weekly content. As always, we're going to be going live again this time next week at 8:30 a.m. So if you are listening back on any of the podcast services of your choice or video on demand services, why not come along and join in just like the rest of the people have today. So thank you everyone for contributing. Thank you everyone for listening, and we will see you same time, same place next week with another episode of Ask the Accountant. Bye for now.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.